Hey, what is going on, everybody? No longer Invisible Boilon here since I have my new cam up and running. Sorry for those of you who enjoyed my limitless presence, but sometimes it's good to get my actual reactions on my face when I talk about the good and the bad of Marvel's Strike Force. But today we're going to be going over all of the Scourges that are upcoming for the Pestilence Morgan Le Fay event, and I have categorized all 39 of them by difficulty. Now, some of those are going to be my opinions on which ones are more challenging than others, but I did do this with the help of Twitch the other day to kind of help get some wider opinions on this. So we'll be going through each one of them, talking about the major challenges that each one presents, but also which ones are more easier to use than others if you want to bump up that score for the upcoming event, which is going to be mixing and matching these Scourges. I think they'll probably be landing in about 2 weeks or so rather, probably not long after Agatha's event, possibly even concurrent. I mean, they've been coming fast here on these events with the character releases, so who knows. Anyways, we got lots to cover today, so without further ado, let's get the show on the road. Okay, so we got this table here. Of course, there's a table. There's always a table. This was called Scourges for Pestilence. I have them separated, the tables, by difficulty rank 1, 2, and 3. And so 1 is the easier ones. These are the easiest of all of the Scourges. 2 is kind of in the middle. This is where you probably have to start thinking about, is this a good idea or not? And then 3 is some of the most challenging ones that I believe exist. And there's maybe about 8 or so of these. A lot of them are in that 1 or 2 category, in my opinion. And what we know so far, we sort of know how much points that they're going to be worth extra in terms of what that really means. I guess could be like a multiplier. I mean, they haven't really been super clear on this, and some of this is just pulled from existing media that showed the value of that. So if you guys remember when they were sharing that online, they kind of had a bar, it would scroll down and you would have different point values, and that's where I got some of this information from. The ones that are left blank, basically, they never showed up, but they are in the data mine. All of these are in the data mine as such, and we're going to go through them one by one. So starting from the top here at difficult rank 1, we have number 1, which is called Unkillable. Now, what it does is when an enemy drops below % health, they gain death proof. Now, I put 50% in brackets. I don't know what this percent is. It wasn't clear in the data mines what this is. I think 50% is a very common threshold. So tentatively, we're going to say that, but obviously it could be something different. So for me, I think this is this is a 1 for me, and the reason, and some of my viewers as well. So this was a combination effort here, and because the reason why is that 1 death proof is really not going to make a huge difference. It is what it is, and you're just going to work through it, right? You're just going to push through, kill him, hit him again, and you're going to kill him. So it's not a huge difference. I don't really know how many points values that could be attributed to. The next one is Dark Resolve 1. Now, on ally death, enemies gain defense up. Now, the reason why I said I have a little notes section for some of these are kind of wonky. Does it apply to summons? So that's kind of a question that I'm asking. When the term on ally death, does that involve summons or not? And this is, we're going to get to the next one because it could be kind of important by the wording. We found that in this whole, on the data mines, that there are some text clarifications that I think are needed. Some of them you can see are highlighted in yellow. There's some more down below, and we'll get to them as we go through. But there's a bit of confusion on that one. So gloating, which is actually number 20, I lumped them together because of the difficulty rankings. Is going to be kind of random here. When any player character dies, enemies gain 2 ability energy. It kind of is what it is. So don't die. The question is, does it apply to summons or not? And so we have when any player character dies, and then on ally death. Those 2 wordings are different. So to me, and to some of the viewers on the Twitch the other day, we thought, well, maybe player character suggests that it doesn't apply to summons. That it's only your main 5 characters in the match, right? And then ally death can also apply to summons. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. That's kind of what I have been, that's how I interpret it, but I don't know if that's actually how it's going to be in practice. Either way, also given a difficulty rank of 1. Number 3, which is called Back in the Fight. When an enemy is healed, they gain deflect. Now, I mean, this is going to be situational, right? Not everyone's going to heal. And so, again, this is going to be kind of something like the unkillable one with the death proof. You just kind of have to fight through it. You know, this might be a big deal, but it's just more things that you have to punch through, and they're just going to take less damage. If it's just one deflect, doesn't seem like it's a big deal, right? So, moving on, Resolute Foe. When one non-summoned enemy character remains in play, they gain a shit ton of buffs. I know it scrolls. Death proof, defense up, deflect, evade, immunity, and regen for 2 turns. Again, this is the very last character on the field, so I don't think that this is going to be a big deal, and so that reason I give it a 1 as well. Too Clever. When a player character uses their special, they gain ability block. Now, this could be really bad, but what it means is that you kind of need to change the way you do your attacks. Your skill order needs to be a little bit different, so because what that basically means is that unless you have a way to cleanse it before your character comes back around, you're going to be going from the special to the basic, is basically what it is. So I think you just kind of have to think about it a bit more. You kind of have to retool like your order of your skills. Shouldn't be that big of a deal in my opinion. So we're going to label that as a 1. Number 18, which is I See You. When a player character gains stealth, they gain taunt. Now this is a direct FU to Miles for the Web Warriors. There are other characters where this might apply to, you know, Kitty Pride, Corvus Glaive, Black Widow. I don't know, some of these characters you might be using, maybe. I mentioned Corvus because some people might decide to use the Black Order for the villain section. If you haven't seen my video on that, I did one last week on the different lanes and stuff like that. I'll have some shout outs to certain characters where they get impacted here. The next one here is going to be Quality Minions, number 25. Now, I put this also at difficulty rank 1. Summoned enemies gain plus max health, percent max health. We don't know how much. Again, it's just something that you're going to push through. So I don't think max health is really a huge deal. I think it's going to be a longer fight, but there's no time as far as I'm aware. So it is what it is, right? And so that's going to be a bit... Any of these that are in difficult rank 1, these are going to be ones that I think are going to be easy Scourges to apply if you want to raise your points. So consider that as well. Now, number 27, Phoenix Stays in the Ashes. Player characters cannot revive. Now, the only reason why I'm highlighted is, why is it called Phoenix Stays in the Ashes? Does this have anything to do with Phoenix? Because we were talking about this, and Dark Phoenix is a summon, right? It's not that she revives into Dark Phoenix. So this suggests to me that no using Minerva. I guess she's the primary reviver really these days. I mean, you're not running regular Doctor Strange. And characters that have revive functions, so Infinity Watch members, Ultron, things like that, I guess. You know, so this isn't going to impact a large amount of people. Don't die, right? Just like the other one above. So that's a 1, but I highlighted this just in case this does something different than what it suggests. Now, Poisoned Energy 2. There is a Poisoned Energy 1. This is actually the easier one. When a player character gains ability energy, apply defense down for 1 turn per ability energy gained. Now, we're going to have a conversation about this because the wording and terminology of this is weird. When a player character gains ability energy. So this part gains ability energy. Is this on turn? Because on your turn, everyone gains 1 ability energy, right? So does that count? Because if that's the case, then you're getting defense down every single turn. But the reason why it says per ability energy gain, this suggests to me that this also could be if you're a recipient of ability energy, let's say from an ability. Like let's say Cap Sam's ult flies out, or sorry, special flies out, ability energy gets chucked out, and that happens, right? So that's gaining as well. There's one Scourge that specifies generate ability energy, and so there is some definitional problems here with generate ability energy and gains ability energy. Let me know down below, what do you think the definition of gains ability energy means? Is this on your turn when you naturally regenerate, or if it's just when an ability kind of chucks it out? You know, that's what I kind of need to know there. For now, though, tentatively, it is in difficulty 1. Now, we have Experimental Serum 1 and 2. This is basically the same thing. Enemies gain 10% max health and 20% max health. You could probably stack on both of these, and it's like the equivalent of like punching into medbay, right? And so I don't think there's much of a challenge difference, but you can see how Experimental Serum 1 has only 1 point value, and then 2 is worth 5. So it's worth significantly more if you use Experimental Serum 2. So moving on to Category 2. Now, these are the bit more challenging ones here. Dark Resolve 2. Now, we had Dark Resolve 1, I'm pretty sure. On enemy death, enemies gain immunity and regen. Now, this one was a bit of a confusing one. Actually, I forgot to highlight this one as well. On enemy death, enemies gain immunity and regen. Who gains immunity and regen? If they just died, I'm assuming... Oh, wait, no, sorry, it wasn't this one. My bad. I'm dumb. It wasn't this one, actually. It was another one further up that has problems. Yeah, so all the enemy team gains immunity and regen. Ignore what I just said. There's another one further down where it's a bit unclear, and I think I actually pointed that out myself. So, yeah, again, yeah, it could be. The reason why is it's not the regen part, it's the immunity. So everyone getting immunity... This could be a big problem, especially for teams that rely more on debuffs. Fool me twice. When an enemy takes damage, they gain speed up. So this is a turn-based game, and so anytime they take damage, if this is an AoE, for example, you do an AoE, and you don't kill them, everyone gains speed up for 2 turns. That's not good. And so this tentatively could be a difficulty 3, but I put it in the middle as difficulty 2. It's worth 10 points apparently, so it's worth a lot of Scourge modifier to use this, so do keep that in mind. Strong opener. We also have weak opener down here. On spawn, enemies gain immunity. So a lot of this is like the on enemy death, this part here, but it's only for turn 1. So if your team is slower than the enemies and they take their first turn, it might not make a big deal because then it'll drop off, right? The only problem is let's say if you're using web warriors or a debuff heavy team and they can't apply the debuffs on turn 1, you're gonna have to kind of wait to do your stuff. So it can be a bit of an issue, I guess. It really depends on the team. Weak opener, on spawn, apply disrupt to player characters. Again, this is kind of the reverse. This is kind of like Reactor. It's basically Reactor in War, and so presumably then that any on spawn buffs that your team has should still work. Just you're not going to be able to do any buffs on turn 1. So think of this like fighting in the Reactor. After that, it'll fall off and it won't be a big deal. This could be a 1, but I'm putting it at 2 because Disrupt can be a big issue for characters like Web Warriors and possibly some other teams that really get impacted by that Disrupt ability. Power Fatigue 2. Now, characters' special abilities cost more ability energy. Now, this is highlighted because what does that mean? How much more? Is it just 1 more than usual? It could be a 1 difficulty, it could be a 2. It really depends on how much more ability energy that is, and that's why I wanted to point that one out. Blinded by power. When a player character uses their ultimate, they gain blind. Does this blind happen before or after the ultimate? Because if you're doing a damage attack that can be affected by blind, and then you get blind, I don't know. I'm assuming it's after, but I don't know, and this would need some further clarity, I think, on that part. Dark Rally. When a player character uses their ultimate, all enemies gain ability energy. Could be bad, maybe. I mean, it depends. It depends on the battle. If you're going in, let's say, fighting Dr. Doom. I don't know if Dr. Doom exists on any of the nodes, but if it does, wow, that's kind of rough. So that would be like a turn 1 time platform. If you're fighting a dagger ult, there's a couple of enemies that this could be a really big deal, that would push up their skills a little bit more. So, yeah, this one could be a bit challenging. That's why I gave it a 2.5, because this is the only one, actually, that I gave a 2.5, because I think this could be kind of crippling if you're not careful. Power Fatigue 1. Now we have Power Fatigue 2 up here. When player character uses player character ability, ultimate abilities cost more ability energy. Again, same as Power Fatigue 2. How much more? And that's all we really need to know there. Could be bad. We'll see. Bleeder. Now, this is a really interesting one. I want to bold this one, actually. When a player character takes damage, they gain bleed. So, let's say and this is across... I should have said this in the beginning. When you put on Scourges, it lasts for the entire run. So start to finish, it's the whole thing. Not just one node, it's all of them. And so when your characters take damage, they gain bleed. If you get hit by a very powerful AoE, say Cap Sam's all, something that does anything that does a lot of damage AoE, it's going to generate a bleed of equivalent damage of what a bleed would normally do. Let's say you get hit by for 400k, I don't know, a long shot ult. And then that's going to turn into a bleed, which is going to do a shit ton of damage. So a strong AoE is going to be very, very powerful. This is something that you should watch out for. And I'm not sure if this is going to be one that I'll be using personally, because unless it gives a shit ton of points, it sounds like something that's going to be very difficult to overcome. Devil's Bargain 2. When a player character gains ability energy, they gain defense down. Now, we were talking about whether or not a stunned character, if this would be possible for a stunned character, because, and whether or not it's on turn, because again, it comes back to this, when a character gains ability energy, does this count on turn when you naturally recover your ability energy, or abilities that generate ability energy and you're recipient of that energy. So again, this needs some clarification. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about the definition of gains ability energy. This happens again down here, not so fast when a player character gains ability energy. Apply slow to them. I think the slow is actually worse than the defense down. However, this points would seem to suggest that they're giving more value to the defense down one than the slow. I think that it's worse to have slow on you than it is to have defense down. But that's just my opinion. They both suck, but I think slow sucks a little bit more. Devil's Bargain 3. When a player character gains a positive effect, apply offense down. It sucks, but it's manageable in the right context, depending on what characters you use. I think this is overcomable. So it's not quite a one. It sucks, but it's in the middle. Pyrrhic Victory. When a player character blocks, apply stun to them. So there's a lot of characters where this is really bad for. This is basically a fuck you to like Secret Avengers, all of them. Doc Ock, Shang-Chi, Silver Samurai, maybe Strife, maybe Agatha, maybe a couple of more characters. These are the just ones that came to mind. Specifically ones that you'll probably be using in these particular sections that are required. Doc Ock and the villains, Silver Samurai and the villains with Weapon X, Secret Avengers for Global or Hero, things like that. So a really rough one, and it depends on how many points this is going to be valued at, whether or not I would use this. Because having stun anytime you block is not good, especially for someone like Doc Ock who can't heal when they're stunned. Whole Latte Power. Enemies generate 1 additional ability energy each time they generate ability energy. So this is what I was talking about. This is the generate one. Enemies generate 1 additional ability energy each time they generate ability energy. So who is they? First of all, but you know, this is definitely ability based. And so yeah, it says it's worth 5 points. It's kind of a weird one. I think this needs some clarification. Weakened. Player character's healing is reduced by X%. We don't have a value on this one. This could be really bad for instances where you are using healing. This would also probably impact Drain. I'm not entirely sure on that, but I think it would impact anything like Healer ISOs, Drain, active healing skills. Could be bad, depending on how much that is. If it's like 25%, maybe not. If it's 50 or 75, yeah, it could be bad. Rubber. Player characters take % of the damage they deal. Again, this could be really bad, but we don't know the % number of that. If it's like 50%, this is super bad. If it's like 20%, it might be mitigatable through healing and other means. Like I would not run, say for example, like Weakened and Rubber and like some of the other ones together. There's also a heal block one that's really bad. It's down below. Experimental Serum 3. This is an offshoot of the other ones, 1 and 2. Enemies gain 30% max health. So you can stack this up with Experimental Serum 1 and 2 if you really want, for a total of 60% if you want to just do that. Max health's not a big deal, actually, I would say. It makes the fight longer, but you know, that's it. It's like fighting into a stronger med bay. Time damping. Now, I don't know if this is supposed to be time dampening. Does this impact enemies? That's the question. All turn meter mods are reduced by X%. So any of your characters that have negative or positive time manipulation, turn meter manipulation, that's going to be changed. By how much, and does it affect the enemies? Because it says all. So this is tentatively a 2. I would actually reduce it to a difficulty of 1 if it impacts the enemies as well. I don't know how frequently you're going to come up against people with turn bar manipulation as an enemy, but I think this is overcomable. Biggest FU is Eternals, Cap Sam, Lady Deathstrike, Doctor Doom. Actually, there's a lot of them, because Symbiotes and Astonishing X-Men also take advantage of kills and low hit points, things like that. But yeah, that's the big standouts there. Vile Tribute. On enemy death, they gain offense up. Who is they? And so I put enemy team in brackets. That's what I would assume to be, and that's what we assumed to be on Twitch when we were talking about this. I don't know what else this would be. So this is a 2. Again, something that might need some clarification. Vile Rally. On enemy death, clear all negative effects from enemies. Now, I don't know if I'd really want to stack both of these together. On enemy death, clear all negative effects, and they gain offense up at the same time. That could be really crippling, again, over the course of a full run, on all the characters that you would be using. Web Warriors, especially Dark Hunters. Characters that are very heavy on negative status effects. This could be really bad. Now we get to finally the final ones. These are difficulty 3. These are some of the worst ones, in my opinion, to be running. Some of the more challenging ones in the Pestilence event. So no help is coming, or no help coming. On turn, apply heal block to player characters. So is this that character's turn, or is it the full team? So is it just applying it to your turn, your character on your turn, or is it applying it to the full team every single turn? I don't know, and that needs some clarification as well. Either way, heal block is bad, especially if you can't get rid of it, and this could be super, super challenging to get through. The end is near. When a player character's health drops below percent max health, apply trauma to them. Trauma is a significantly very, 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 very bad debuff. What percent max health this is, we don't know. If it's 50%, 25%, this would make a difference. Either way, trauma is not good. So really, really challenging one here. Late for work. A random player character is delayed from spawning until one player character dies. This is fucked up, because basically you're running a 4-person match, but the other character doesn't come back until that one dies. Now, you could use a sacrifice character, like a Drax or a Red Guardian or something like this, but then you're essentially still running a 4-man show. So why would you want to do that? I hope it's worth a shit ton of points, but this is one of the most challenging one, in my opinion, here, on top of one of the other ones, which we'll see. Poison Energy 1. When a player character gains ability energy, each enemy deals 80% piercing damage to them. This is crazy. Consider gaining ability energy, and there's 8 characters on the field. You're immediately going to be taking 640% piercing damage from all of those enemies, 80 each times however many characters on the field, when you generate ability energy. Not good. And I'm surprised that it only has a point modifier of 3, unless this is incorrect and everything we saw online is subject to change. Doesn't really matter too much, but this is a really challenging one in my opinion. So yeah, watch out for that one. NYI Out of Control. Players cannot field controllers. This is by far the worst one, actually. I would say the Late for Work is probably the second worst one. Out of Control. You can't use any controllers. No controllers. Can't use them. Dr. Doom, Ghost Spider, Morbius. So 2 characters that are really important to the Web Warriors and Dark Hunters. Controllers are some of the best characters in the game. Cloak, off the top of my head, you know, like just go into msf.gg or in your game and then just filter by controllers. There's so many good characters. Sharon Carter, you know, that you're not going to be able to use if you activate this. So I don't know how many point modifiers this is going to be worth, but holy shit, this is probably the worst one. Vile Resurgence and Vile Revenge. On enemy turn, they gain offense up. Again, who is they? And is that the entire team on enemy turn? Or just that person? You know, like they, I'm assuming it's the enemy. So there's some clarifications that still need. On enemy death, clear all positive effects from player characters. That's not very good either. Actually, just killing one character and all of your buffs are gone. Similar to kind of this on enemy death, clear all negative effects from the enemies, but I think this is worse. I think that clearing your positive effects is worse than them clearing their negative effects, in my opinion. So let me know. This is all 39 of them. I tried to do my best to categorize them in what I felt were some of the worst ones in the game. These ones are the worst. These ones are kind of like, you know, pick and choose which of these you want to add on. And I think a lot of these ones you could actually throw on and it wouldn't make a significant difference to your gameplay. Especially ones like the max health, you know, random buffs, unkillable, and so on and so on. So I'm going to have this listed in my Discord channel in where I normally post my spreadsheets. If you guys want to take a look at this at another time, let me know what you think about all of these in the comments down below. They're not going to be adding any more. And you're really going to need to start thinking about how many of these do you think that you could apply. Now, of course, the event itself is going to last for a full week, so you're going to have time to think about this and you know, experiment by trialing different ones and things like that. And I think there's a few places where we need some clarification. And so clarification is needed on what's the difference between gains energy and generate energy. What is gain? Is this on turn energy generation? Does that count? What counts as generating? You know, so these kind of like terminology things that they've never really explained and probably really hasn't been a big deal until this, because the way that the wording is, they can't afford to get this wrong. And so because this is a timed event, that's a 7-day event, when it does come around, we really need to make sure that they hit the mark on this, because this is their kind of 2022 main game mode, right? And if they get this wrong, this is really going to hit them in the face, and they need to make sure that it's working properly when we actually come around to that. So again, let me know all that in the comments down below as well. That's the end of this video, guys. And until next time, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I know there's a lot of you people out there who watch my videos, but don't actually hit that subscribe button. So please do me a favor and hit that button, please. But until next time, stay safe and healthy. And I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.